Hi guys, how are you doing? Hope your day is going fine. My name is Ayotunde Adesina. I'm a music producer, I'm a sound engineer, and I'm bringing another interesting podcast for you this day. I'm very sure you probably must have noticed a little glitch in my voice. I've been battling with flu, cough, and catarrh and all these things. But nevertheless, I'm still going to deliver on my obligation to always educate you guys. So today we'll be talking about sound reinforcement for worship centers. I want you to picture this. You are in a congregation of about maybe 500 to 1,000 people, and maybe someone out of the congregation decides to address the whole audience. And the person is talking sitting down. Basically, the only set of people that are going to be able to hear him or her very well are the people sitting around his or her axis, like the radius of wherever she is or he is. It's even possible that even some people, even in that axis, might not really hear well, probably because he's backing them. You get my point? Now imagine the person now stands up and the person is in the middle of the congregation, like the middle of the congregation. Now, it's still the same thing, but the only difference is that by standing up, you've solved the visibility problem, the visibility challenge, where it has to do with that the people can see who's talking, but still they can't hear you. They might hear you a little bit because as you're standing, your voice is propelling much more farther, but still it's still just going to cover a few distance. Still doesn't mean it's still going to reach the people you want to reach. So now, even you're standing up, you'll be reaching more people, but if you're facing forward, the people at the back will be seeing your back, they won't be seeing your face. That means the people at the front will have to turn to look at you, and the people at the back don't have to turn, they are looking at you. If you're looking forward, that means the people at the back are seeing your back, they're not seeing your face. And if you're looking backwards, it means the people at the front will be seeing your back. That means you're backing people, you're backing the audience based on where you're facing, whether you're facing the front or you're facing the back. So you've really not solved much problem. You just given your voice a little bit audibility and more visibility. But imagine you now go to the front of the hall and you address people. You've solved two problems, visibility and audibility. Now everybody will turn their face and be looking at one place, that is you, wherever you are on the stage. But still, you've not really solved the audibility problem because your voice cannot reach that much distance. And because your voice can't reach that far, that is the reason why sound reinforcement comes in. It helps you to make sure that everybody in the auditorium is hearing what you are saying. The people in the front, the people in the middle, the people at the back, they're hearing almost the same volume. Let me use that term. Normally, the normal term is SPL. So the speakers are going to make sure that everybody in the front, the middle, the back are all hearing the same thing you're saying at almost the same level. So what I'm talking about is making sure that sound is evenly distributed. And as we all know, the purpose of churches are to evangelize and also to help people. And how do you evangelize is by communicating with somebody. And what is communication? Communication has to do with when you're speaking to somebody and the person is understanding you. That is a two-way thing. I'm speaking to you, that is one. You're understanding, that is two. But if I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking with a different language that you don't understand, or I'm speaking at a far distance, all you just be saying is, I can't hear you, I can't hear you. Then there's no communication, then there's no real evangelism. Partial evangelism is when people can't hear you, they can't understand what you're saying. It's like they bring somebody from France to come and speak in Germany. You probably won't understand what they say. Some people might. But what am I trying to say? What's the point of all these things? That the point of evangelism is that the people have to be connected with you. Why do you think when you wake up in the morning, you'll be hearing some people holding megaphone and be preaching, they are evangelizing, they are preaching? Why are they not using their voice? Why do you think somebody will carry a bell and be ringing it and be speaking? See, it's not as if their voice can reach far. But the purpose of that bell is to wake people up like, hello, I'm here, because the bell will actually travel further. So that bell is to attract them, is to distract them from whatever they are doing, so that they can come closer to you. They can be allowed, okay, what is happening here? Let me go and see it. That's the point. And this is still sound reinforcement, reaching distance. They don't have a megaphone, but they have a tool that can travel farther. So once it travels farther, people will be like, what is that? What is that? It will always distract you from whatever you're doing, and you'll be forced to listen to what he has to say. What is the point of evangelism when the people in your church can't even hear what you're saying? And the funniest part is the people that even need all these things are the people that sit at the back. That's why you see some people be pressing their phone because they can't hear what the pastor is saying. Or they will leave early because either they're not enjoying the sound or they can't hear what the pastor is saying. So it's very, very important that you make sure that your ambience as a preacher reaches the front, the middle, and the back. That's the reason why I always emphasize getting a good sound is like one of the keys to a successful ministry. In fact, that can attract people to come to church to be saved. I'm not saying the word is not enough, but the word is what people must hear, is what people want to hear. But how do you give the word to people without them hearing you? How can you speak to thousands of people with your mouth? You only cover maybe 50 people or 40 people. That means your evangelism, it has not fulfilled its purpose. Back when I was a little bit younger, when I was in the university, I decided I was going to go to Harvest House Christian Center. I wasn't going to go there because I was going to listen to the pastor. But the purpose of why I was going to the church was because I heard they had a wonderful choir. Like, they had one of the best choirs in Ibadan. And I'm like, wow. Because I was coming from a Pentecostal church, a Pentecostal system where the sound, the choir, it doesn't really matter to them. All we had there was traditional hand drums and also electric drums. The sound was just not there. I knew that the sound was not there. So I went to the church that particular Sunday and I was distracted by the word. The words told me from thinking about how good the choir was. Though the choir sang and I was like, oh my God. But I totally forgot that the choir sang when my pastor started preaching because the words told me. Now, what happened there was, this was my attraction. This was what brought me to the church. It's the same thing with sound. A lot of people will come to church because the church has a good sound, not because they are going to hear the word. And by that, their lives will be saved. People will give their life to Christ because your sound is good. You're reaching them. But if you don't set priorities right, they will come and they will go. You won't have any impact on them because they barely can hear what you're saying. You get my point? It's very important that you have these things in consideration. I notice a lot of churches always focus more on what is the capacity of the hall. That's the first thing. Then, how beautiful is the environment? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying all these things are not important. What's the point of getting a hall that can seat 3,000 people and it cannot even feed 1,000 people effectively? Like, effectively. You'll be looking at it that, okay, maybe in future, you will expand, you grow. I understand the point of starting small and growing. As your audiences are growing, you continue to grow with sound. But the thing is, proper sound reinforcement focuses on the maximum amount of people you want. I'm talking as a professional now. I'm not talking as a church worker. I'm talking as a professional. Sound reinforcement focuses on the maximum amount of people. But if I'm going to talk as a church worker, I'm going to say that the church has the potential to grow. Normally, everybody grows. Like, you're starting a business, you're growing, you're building your capacity, you're expanding. But what I'm talking about is, okay, peradventure, you do an event, 4,000 hall or 5,000 hall is full, and your speakers barely can feed 1,000, 2,000 people. That means you have to rent speakers. Now, imagine those people now decide they want to stay. That means you have to be renting speakers every midweek service, every Sunday. It might not be as much as how much you used to buy a speaker. Whatever you want to do it well. This principle might not apply to you well, you know. But for me, I feel you have a 5,000 hall, I'll tell you what you need. You have a 2,000 hall, I'll tell you what you need. And some churches will be like, we want to make the stage, we want to put marbles. It's really crazy. When I see marbles on altar, I'm like, these are like my worst nightmares. Like they are the worst nightmares of every sound designer, like every acoustic engineer. Whenever we see tiles, I'm like, we just melt. I'm like, oh my God. And they don't know that all these reflective surfaces, all these tiles and all these things they use, marbles, all these things cause more problem. And the more problem you cause the more money you're going to use to repair them. Why don't you just prevent this problem by doing the right thing and having the right tools so that you don't have to spend more money? Prevention is better than cure. Why don't you prevent yourself from spending money and just do the right thing? Rather than using reflective surface, you can use wood to design it. You can use other materials. You can use like gypsum board, rock wool. You can create a design. See, there are a lot of ways to design your auditorium. You can use a lot of lighting. Rather than putting marbles, you can have foams. You can have rock wools in the wall and have patterns, materials. Put them on the wall, design them, and use it with lightning. You don't have to use marbles. When you use marbles, you cannot hang anything on them. You have to be hitting and drilling them. You are spoiling it like that. All these things are all about setting your priorities right. Everybody that comes to your church will be attracted to the beauty of your church. Wow, this church looks beautiful. See tiles everywhere. Let the pastor start preaching. It is then you know you're not hearing what he's saying. Everything just sounded cluttered. You're just going to be like, this church is just beautiful. I'm not really getting anything from them. They will now have to go and buy the CD. And to now watching it if the sound department people are not really good enough to know how to use gates. End of story. You lost the potential soul that you could have saved and brought before God, and his life will be a changed life. I know some people might have different, or some people might have a conflicting view about all these things I'm saying, but what I'm talking about is based on fact. I understand the system because I'm a worker in my church. I'm talking about what is going to help you to stay focused on something else rather than worrying about other things. Whenever you want to do something, do it well. Don't do it half and expect that, okay, maybe in the next future, I'm going to do another half. But that's the thing about sound. Let's say you have a hall that seats 5,000 people and you don't have enough speakers, you'll be forced to overdrive your speakers and you burn those speakers. Even if you buy the best speakers in the world and they're not enough for the auditorium, you eventually damage it and you eventually have to buy another one. If it's the arrays that you can't repair, you have to buy another one. So by the time you use it again, you drive it, you buy another one. So by the time you start buying, you've spent the amount of money you would have used to actually buy the one you need, the amount of boxes you need for your auditorium. Another solution that you can do is to reduce the volume. But by the time you reduce the volume and you're underdrive, you are reducing the amount of people that will going to be hearing clearly enough. Some people will just be complaining that we can't hear the pastor. They will come to the control room and tell the engineer that you should increase the volume. They don't understand the basic of what is going on. And that is very, very important that you must always say, nobody should enter the control room except the engineer. You see, your control room, the more people you are allowed to enter into your control room, the more problems you're going to be creating because people will be coming with different opinions. There should be only one opinion that should come to you. It should be your assistant engineer. And I will always employ churches if you cannot afford a sound engineer, which I always say. If you want to have a well-planned, a proper sound reinforcement in your church, that you won't have problems, you have to employ a sound engineer, someone that you'll be able to hold accountable for anything that goes wrong. But if you put a church volunteer there as the head mix engineer or the head engineer, if anything goes wrong, you cannot hold him accountable. If the speakers get burnt, you can't hold him accountable because he will say that the speaker just stopped working. You can't hold him accountable because he's serving, because he's learning, he's growing. So if he commits a mistake, he knows that he can get away with the mistake, so he probably won't care. But someone that knows that I'm being paid for, if anything goes wrong, I'll be the one they're going to hold. So he's very, very smart and calculative. In fact, he will help you to save money because he knows that if anything gets bought, they will move it from your salary. So all these things are going to really help you. And the church volunteers will be learning from him. They are going them indirectly. But by the time you put church workers there, your volunteers, and you expect them to grow, you're on your own. Some churches are doing it. That is why some churches really have issues with sound. In fact, most churches in Nigeria have issues with sound. Churches like this, that they have paid engineers. That is why their sound is one of the best in Nigeria as a church. A lot of churches in Lagos have paid engineers. They are held responsible, accountable. Hold them, let them know that if anything goes wrong, you'll be held accountable. These are the ways in which you can control what is happening in the sound department. By doing this, you will just notice that you're not spending as much as you will be spending. All these things are very, very important that we put into consideration. It's very important that you make sure that the hall you are using is very, very good. The better your hall sounds, the less amount of money you will spend to do reinforcement. If you have a very, very bad hall that has a lot of reflections, you have to buy more speakers because you have to drive low. And when you drive low, you have to use more speakers to complement it per distance. But if you have a good sounding hall, you can just use few speakers. You'll save more money with a good sounding auditorium than a bad sounding auditorium. So I was to set up for a concert, silent shout, and the anchor took me to all like that, and I wore a palm slippers. Immediately I entered the hall, my slippers was about to slip off my leg, so I just used my leg to push it back up, slamming my leg on the floor. I heard that very long RT60, like very long sustain. And I was like, I said, please, ma, we cannot, this is not, if we are going to use this, we will use more speakers. Because the thing is, for that hall cannot take a lot of sound pressure. So you have to drive it low to reduce the amount of reflections you're going to get. So you get more direct sound than reflections. But if you pump a lot of volume into that hall, you'll be getting a lot of reflections, a lot of standing waves. You have a lot of challenges. When you're in a very reflective hall, you have to drive it very low. Then you use multiple speakers, a lot of delayed speakers. There's one thing I like to do. Whenever I'm doing in a hall, I always like to have a delayed speaker. And you'll never see me just putting one speaker in the front, except if the budget is not up to it. But if the budget is up to it, I will always have a delayed speaker because I don't like driving too much volume. I don't like pumping too much of pressure into the room. I don't want to trigger the room sound. I don't like to trigger. I want it to send, I want the people to have direct contact with the sound, direct sound. So I don't want to pump volume. I just want to just pump direct sound at a very low level. Then I use other speakers to complement it. She said we should try Trenchard. And that was the first time I was going to go to Trenchard. Immediately I stepped to Trenchard, I was almost crying like, this is the best hall I've ever heard in my life. Like the hall sounds sweet. In that hall, you can use a single 15-inch speaker. Just a single PA to drive that hall. And I feel that hall can sit like, I think 200 or 500. I don't know. I think it can sit that much. And it was, because it has a lot of diffusion. When sound or pressure or anything that has acoustic and it hits wood, it increases the volume, it multiplies the sound. So little amount of volume you put in that hall will make it sound big and large. You get my point? So that's one thing about acoustic. That is under acoustics. So if you're going to do the other hall, I forgot the name of the other hall. I had a very long sustain, long RT60. RT60, that is the time it takes for the sound to decay, for a sound to fade out. For that kind of hall, we use almost 4 delayed stacks of speakers. And the 4 delayed stacks for the hall that has a very long sustain has to be double. So we're going to have a blend of single and doubles. And that was based on calculation. I can't start explaining that, but that was based on calculation. But for Trenchard, we've done a series of events there where we use single 15-inch and we didn't have to drive it so loud. And I was literally hearing like clearly crispy at the back, like at the back. So it's very important that acoustics is one thing you should focus on when it comes to your sound, when it comes to your ministry as a worship center. Focus on your acoustics. You can always redesign a hall that doesn't look good. It doesn't cost you anything. If you get a hall that sounds bad, you can buy drapes or thick curtains, run it around the church. It will reduce reflection. That was what I did for a church like that I was consulting for. They had a lot of issues with reflection. I told them to get drapes. I told them to get very thick curtains. So they ran it around the church. Now, when they did that, it reduced the reflections and all now sounds very dead, like really, really dead. So I now told them that we're going to be using some reflective materials, like wood designs and everything. So all these things are very, very important. So what is the point of all these things? Is that in order to pass information to people, you have to make sure that you are in a right hall and you have sufficient speakers so that you will not eventually be spoiling speakers and damaging speakers by overdriving. It's better to drive your speakers at a low level so that they will last longer and use more speakers. It might cost you more. Most people look at the price of something, not the cost. When I talk about cost has to do with how much you're paying for that equipment over a period of time. Price is how much you're paying for that equipment at that point in time. So most people look at the price of the equipment rather than the cost of the equipment. The cost will cover how much you're going to use to repair that equipment over a long period of time. So the cost is much more important than the price. People are deceived by how much I'm paying now. By the time you start thinking of price, you'll be paying a little amount of money to acquire a product. The amount of money you're going to spend to repay it over the time will be more than the amount of money you're supposed to spend on something that will serve you more, on a better product. So it's important that you note all these things and set your priorities right. So this is all we have for you for this part. We will continue from where we stopped here. But before I go, please, I would like you to support me so that I'll be able to bring more information to you, bring more podcast, something that's going to really help you. Follow me on Instagram at AM Studio Nigeria, and you can follow me personally at Adesina Ayotunde 88. You can also follow me on Facebook at Ayotunde Adesina, and also my YouTube account Ayotunde Adesina. You can also chat me up on WhatsApp. If you are not in Nigeria, you can use +234. That's the code 70. Then the number is 70679429997. If you are in Nigeria, it is 07067942997. Anything you need, anything you want, you can always call me anytime, any day. And I'm going to be there for you. Thank you very much and stay blessed.